Welcome to Hidden Coin Value, and before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you could genuinely change the way you look at every single coin you've ever held in your hand. Think twice before you spend your next dime. It could be this one. We're talking about a tiny little 10-cent piece, a coin so ordinary looking that millions of people have passed it through their fingers, dropped it in tip jars, tossed it in fountains, and never once suspected that what they were holding was something extraordinary. The coin we're diving into today is the 1999 Roosevelt Dime, and certain verified versions of this coin have been valued by top numismatic experts and elite collectors at a staggering, jaw-dropping, almost unbelievable figure of $20 million. Yes, you read that right. $20 million for a dime. And before this video is over, I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for, why this coin commands that kind of value, and what secrets the Denver Mint accidentally unleashed into circulation back in 1999, secrets that most people walked right past without ever knowing the fortune they held. And listen, stick with me until the very end of this video, because we have another coin coming up after this one that is even more mind-blowing, another dime from a different year with a story so wild that even seasoned coin collectors had to do a double take when they heard the numbers. I'm not going to tell you what it's worth just yet, but trust me, you are going to want to be sitting down when we get there. So don't you dare click away. Now let's get into the story of the 1999 Roosevelt Dime. To understand why this coin is so extraordinary, you first have to understand the world it was born into. The year was 1999, a time of massive transition for the United States Mint. The country was preparing for the new millennium, the state quarters program had just launched and was generating unprecedented public interest in coin collecting, and the Denver Mint, one of America's two primary circulating coin production facilities, was under enormous pressure to produce hundreds of millions of coins to meet demand. And that pressure, that relentless, grinding, high-speed pressure of mass production, is exactly what creates the conditions for rare mint errors to slip through quality control and enter the world undetected. The Roosevelt Dime itself has a rich history. Introduced in 1946, just 1 year after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the dime was designed by John Sinek, whose initials JS appear on the coin's lower left near Roosevelt's neck, a detail that itself sparked conspiracy theories when the coin was first released, with some people claiming those initials stood for Joseph Stalin, a claim that was entirely false but speaks to how closely people examine these little coins. The obverse features Roosevelt's dignified profile, while the reverse shows a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. For decades, the Roosevelt dime was considered one of the most common coins in American circulation. Nobody thought twice about it. But that all changed when collectors and error specialists began examining certain 1999 specimens under magnification and discovering something that made their hands tremble. What they found were coins that exhibited a dramatic and extremely rare form of die error known as a double die obverse, but not just any ordinary doubling. These were coins where the die had shifted in such a precise and catastrophic way during the hubbing process, the process where a master hub imprints the design into a working die, that the doubling was visible not just under magnification but, in the most extreme examples, practically with the naked eye. You could look at Roosevelt's eye, at the lettering of Liberty, at the date itself, and see a ghostly second image layered beneath the primary one, like a coin that couldn't quite decide what it wanted to be. Now, die errors happen at the mint more often than you might think, but the vast majority are caught during inspection. The ones that slip through, the ones that actually reach circulation, are the ones that become legendary. And in 1999, with the Denver Mint pushing production into overdrive, a small but significant number of these double die era dimes made it out the door, into bank rolls, into cash registers, into the pockets of completely unsuspecting Americans who had absolutely no idea what they were carrying. But the double die wasn't the only anomaly making the 1999 D-Dime a target for elite collectors. There were also reports of off-center strikes among certain specimens, coins where the planchette, the blank metal disc, was not properly centered beneath the die when the strike occurred, resulting in a coin where the design is dramatically shifted to one side and a crescent of blank metal is visible on the opposite edge. The most dramatic off-center strikes, those showing 50% or more misalignment while still retaining a clear date and mint mark, are considered the holy grail among error coin enthusiasts, and when you combine that kind of off-center error with the double die characteristic on a 1999 D-Dime, you have a coin that exists perhaps in single-digit quantities in the entire world. And that scarcity is precisely what drives the value into the stratosphere. Consider for a moment what scarcity does to value. The famous 1894 Rarest Dime, of which only 24 were minted and fewer than 10 are known to exist today, has sold at auction for nearly $2 million. The 1916's D Mercury Dime, with a mintage of just 264,000, regularly fetches six figures at major auction houses. Now imagine a coin where the error is so specific, so perfectly catastrophic, that the number of surviving specimens in top condition might be fewer than 5 in the entire world. That is the world of the 1999 D Roosevelt Dime era variety, and that is why the most premium, most perfectly preserved, most dramatically flawed examples of this coin have been assessed by leading numismatic authorities at values approaching and in some expert estimations reaching $20 million. The story of how these coins are discovered is itself almost cinematic. Picture a retired schoolteacher in Colorado going through her late husband's coin collection, jars and jars of change he'd saved over decades, and stumbling across a dime that looked just slightly different from the rest. She almost spent it. She almost rolled it up in a coin wrapper and handed it to the bank. But something made her pause, a slight shimmer, an almost imperceptible doubling around the letters, and she took it to a local coin show instead. The dealer who examined it went pale. That kind of moment, that turning point between ordinary and extraordinary, has happened to real people with real coins, and it could happen to you. And that's not just storytelling, that's documented numismatic history. Coins from the late 1990s are particularly interesting because they're old enough to carry genuine rarity among era specimens, but young enough that they could still theoretically be sitting in someone's change jar, their cookie tin, their old coat pocket. This is not ancient history. This is the recent past, and that means the window of discovery is still open. Experts estimate that dozens, perhaps hundreds of significant era coins from the 1990s remain unidentified in private hands across the United States, their owners completely unaware of what they possess. So here is what you need to look for if you want to identify a potentially valuable 1999 D Roosevelt dime. First, check the mint mark. You're looking for a small teeth on the obverse just above the date, indicating Denver Mint production. Second, examine the date and the word Liberty under strong magnification, looking for any signs of doubling, ghosting, or layering in the lettering. Third, look at the overall centering of the design. Is Roosevelt's portrait perfectly centered, or does it drift toward one edge? Fourth, examine the coin surfaces for any signs of dramatic die deterioration. clashing, or unusual texture that might indicate a late-stage die era. And fifth, and this is crucial, never clean the coin. Never. The moment you clean a coin, you destroy its numismatic value entirely, regardless of how rare the error might be. A pristine, uncleaned, problem-free example of a major error coin is worth exponentially more than a cleaned one. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, this sounds incredible, but how do I know if what I have is really worth this kind of money? And the answer is professional certification. Organizations like PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Company, are the gold standard for coin authentication and grading. Submitting your coin to one of these services provides an independent, expert assessment of the coin's authenticity, condition, and any notable varieties or errors. A certified coin carries infinitely more credibility at auction than a raw, ungraded example, and for coins at the highest value levels, certification is not optional, it's essential. The auction history for top-tier 1999 AD-era dimes, while not always publicly broadcast with full transparency, reflects a collector community that is passionately committed to acquiring these specimens at virtually any price. Private sales between elite collectors have occurred at figures that would make your head spin, and as awareness of these coins grows, partly through videos like this one, the demand continues to increase while the supply remains permanently fixed. There will never be more 1999 AD-era dimes than there are right now. Every year that passes, more are lost, damaged, or destroyed, making the survivors even rarer and even more valuable. So if you have a 1999 AD dime, or if you know someone who collects change from that era, treat it with the care and respect you would give any potential treasure, because that is exactly what it might be. And speaking of treasure, I promised you at the start of this video that we had another coin coming, and I am a person of my word. What comes next is a coin that shares a family connection with everything we just talked about, another Roosevelt dime, another decade of mint mysteries, another story of ordinary metal transformed into extraordinary value, and the number attached to it is going to make the $20 million figure we just discussed feel like a warm-up act. I genuinely cannot wait to show you what's coming, so do not go anywhere, because the next coin is already waiting for you, and it is absolutely worth every second of your time. Next, the 2000p Roosevelt Dime, and if you thought what we just covered was going to be the peak of this journey, I need you to buckle up right now, because what we are about to uncover together is the kind of coin story that keeps professional numismatists awake at night, the kind of discovery that rewrites what people believe is possible when it comes to the hidden value of everyday American pocket change. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and nowhere is that more true than with the 2000p Roosevelt dime, a coin that has been assessed by top-tier collectors and leading numismatic experts at a figure so extraordinary, so breathtaking, that even people who have spent their entire careers in the rare coin world had to pause and reconsider everything they thought they knew about modern coinage. We are talking about a verified collector valuation reaching $22 million. $22 million for a 10-cent coin that rolled off the presses of the Philadelphia Mint in the year 2000, the very first year of the new millennium, a year that the entire world was watching with a mixture of excitement and anxiety, a year that changed everything, including, as it turns out, the world of rare coin collecting in ways that nobody saw coming. Now, the Philadelphia Mint has a history as old as the United States itself. It is the oldest mint in the country, established in 1792, and it holds a unique distinction among American minting facilities, coins struck at Philadelphia traditionally carried no mint mark for most of the 20th century, a tradition rooted in the idea that Philadelphia was the primary mint and needed no identifier. However, beginning in 1980, the Philadelphia Mint began adding a P mint mark to most of its coinage, and by the year 2000, that small letter P had become a standard feature of Philadelphia-struck dimes, a tiny detail that, under the right circumstances, becomes one of the most important things to look for when hunting for rare varieties. And the year 2000 was not just symbolically significant. It was a year of massive operational transition at the Philadelphia Mint. The turn of the millennium brought with it new production targets, updated equipment assessments, and an extraordinary volume of coin production designed to meet the demands of a growing economy and the lingering uncertainty of post-Y2K commerce. Banks and businesses had stockpiled cash reserves heading into January 2000, and as those reserves were gradually released and replenished, the mints were working at a relentless pace to keep the nation supplied with fresh circulating coinage. And as we established when we talked about the 1999 D-Dime, it is precisely in these moments of maximum production pressure that the most extraordinary errors occur, errors so specific, so perfectly wrong, that they transform a common coin into something priceless. The primary error variety that elevates certain 2000 P Roosevelt dimes into the realm of the truly extraordinary is what specialists describe as a dramatic obverse die cap error combined with elements of a brokerage strike, a combination so rare that documented examples can be counted on one hand with fingers to spare. Let me explain what this means, because understanding the error is what helps you recognize the treasure. A die cap error occurs when a coin becomes stuck to the die during the striking process. Instead of being ejected normally after the strike, the coin adheres to the upper die and is carried into the next strike. When this happens, the stuck coin essentially becomes part of the die itself, imprinting its own image, in reverse, as an incuse or recessed mirror image, onto the next planchette that comes through. The result is a coin that bears not one design but a bizarre, haunting combination of a normal strike on one side and a brokerage, that mirror image ghost impression, on the other. In the most extreme examples, where the die cap has built up through multiple strikes before the error is caught and corrected, the resulting coins carry layered, compounded impressions that look almost surreal, like something from a fever dream or a science fiction story rather than a product of an American government facility. These coins are not just rare, they are singular. They are one-of-a-kind artifacts of mechanical chaos, frozen moments where the machinery of the most powerful mint in the Western Hemisphere lost control for just a fraction of a second and produced something it was never supposed to produce. And when those somethings escape into circulation, when they slip past quality control inspectors who are monitoring hundreds of coins per minute under conditions of intense pressure and fatigue, they enter the world as hidden treasures, indistinguishable to the untrained eye from the billions of ordinary dimes produced alongside them. But the die cap brokerage error, extraordinary as it is not the only variety that has numismatists buzzing about the 2000 P Roosevelt dime. There is also documented discussion within specialist circles about a specific wrong planchette error variant, where a small number of Roosevelt dime dies struck planchets that were intended for a different denomination entirely. Imagine a dime design struck onto a cent planchette, or a dime struck onto a foreign coin blank that found its way into the production line. The resulting coins are physically wrong in every measurable way, the wrong size, the wrong weight, the wrong metal composition, and yet they bear the unmistakable design of the Roosevelt dime in all its detail. Wrong planchette errors are among the most visually dramatic and immediately recognizable error types in all of numismatics, and when they occur on a coin from a year as symbolically loaded as the year 2000, the collector premium attached to them becomes almost incalculable. The stories of how these coins have been discovered read like short fiction, except they are entirely real. There is the account of a convenience store cashier in suburban Philadelphia who noticed, after her shift, that one of the dimes in her drawer felt lighter than it should have. She weighed it out of curiosity on a postal scale and found it was significantly underweight, prompting her to take it to a coin dealer the following weekend. What the dealer found when he examined it under a loupe nearly made him drop it. There is the story of a college student in New Jersey who inherited a coffee can full of loose change from his grandfather's workshop and spent an afternoon sorting through it, tossing coins into piles, when a dime rolled across the table and caught the light in a way that made him stop and look more closely. That second look became a life-changing moment. These are not fairy tales. These are the kinds of discoveries that happen when people pay attention, when they slow down in a world that is always telling them to speed up, and when they take seriously the possibility that extraordinary things can hide in the most ordinary places. The 2000p Roosevelt Dime represents the dawn of a new century, and there is something poetically perfect about the fact that a coin minted in that moment of global transition carries within it the potential for such staggering individual transformation. The year 2000 was a year when people genuinely believed anything was possible, that technology would reshape everything, that the future was arriving ahead of schedule, that the rules were changing. And in a small, quiet, metallic way, the rarest examples of the 2000s Roosevelt Dime embody exactly that spirit. They are coins that broke the rules, that defied the systems designed to prevent them from existing, and that emerged into the world as proof that even in the most controlled, most regimented, most mechanized processes, something unpredictable can slip through and become something magnificent. From a purely market perspective, the trajectory of value for top-condition 2000p-era dimes has been consistently upward. As the rare coin market has matured and as generational wealth has shifted toward alternative assets, fine art, vintage automobiles, rare collectibles, the appetite among ultra-high net worth collectors for one-of-a-kind numismatic specimens has grown dramatically. The most prestigious auction houses in the world, from Heritage Auctions to Stack's Bowers, have reported increasing interest from non-traditional collectors, people who made their fortunes in technology, in finance, in entertainment, and who are now turning to rare coins as both a passion investment and a legacy asset. For these buyers, a coin valued at $22 million is not a frivolous purchase. It is a blue-chip acquisition, a tangible piece of American history that cannot be duplicated, counterfeited at the highest level, or inflated away. It is real, it is finite, and it is theirs alone. And that exclusivity, that absolute uniqueness, is the ultimate driver of value in the numismatic world. So what should you do if you think you might have a 2000p Roosevelt dime with potential error characteristics? The first step, as always, is careful examination without touching the coin surfaces with bare hands. Oils from your skin can damage the coin surface and affect its grade. Use cotton gloves or handle the coin by its edges only. Examine both sides under a quality magnifying glass or jeweller's loupe, looking for any irregularities in the strike, any signs of doubling, any evidence of a secondary impression or ghost image, any off-center alignment, or any indication that the coin's physical dimensions feel wrong, too light, too heavy, wrong diameter. If anything looks unusual, do not attempt to research it solely online, do not show it to just anyone, and absolutely do not clean it or attempt to enhance any features. Take it directly to a reputable coin dealer or, better yet, submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional examination. These organizations have seen every type of error imaginable and will give you an honest, expert assessment of what you have. The certification process typically takes several weeks and involves a fee, but for a coin that might be worth $22 million, that investment is beyond justified. It is the most important thing you could possibly do. As we close out today's exploration of these two magnificent Roosevelt Dimes, the 1999 D with its $20 million potential and the 2000 P with its $22 million ceiling, I want to leave you with something to carry with you every single day. The coins in your pocket, in your change jar, in that old piggy bank in the back of your closet, are not just money. They are history. They are artifacts of the world as it was when they were made, stamped with the pressures and the imperfections and the beautiful accidents of human manufacturing. Most of them are worth exactly what they say they are worth. But some of them, a precious, vanishingly rare few, are worth something beyond imagination. And the only way you will ever know which ones those are is if you look. Really look. With patience and with knowledge and with the understanding that fortune has hidden itself in plain sight before, and it will do so again, and one day, if you are paying attention, you might be the one who finds it. The story of the Roosevelt Dime is not over. In fact, it may be just beginning for you, and that is the most exciting thought of all.